What's up guys? Welcome to my YouTube channel. In today's video, I'm going to be walking you guys through exactly how I do my highlight technique section. So any blonde highlights to get your clients super blonde. So if you're wanting to learn how to get your clients really blonde, stay tuned. Alright guys, welcome. I'm excited to walk you guys through my highlight technique. I've had a lot of you guys ask for this technique, and so I wanted to devote a whole entire video to it. Now, my client loves to be super blonde, almost platinum blonde, and so I'm gonna walk you guys through how to get them really blonde with highlights, not necessarily a bleach retouch, and it's gonna grow out beautifully, and my amazing platinum blonde toner. So let's get started. Alright, so this is our starting canvas. We highlighted her hair about 12 weeks ago, so it's been a little bit since I've done her hair, but even still, you guys can tell that this method grows out super nicely. There's not a harsh line of demarcation. In fact, it almost looks like kind of like a root shadow. So I'm gonna show you guys this amazing method that'll grow out beautifully, and even when your clients have 12 weeks of grow out, it still looks pretty darn good. Alright, so I'm going to mix up for her, we're going to be doing a full highlight, and so I'm going to do a scoop of bleach with 20 and 30 volume. We'll start with 25, and then we'll probably work our way up to 35 towards the end, just because it takes me a little bit while to get her foils in. So, like I said, we'll start with 25, and then of course we will use Olaplex because we are doing some blonde hair, and we want to make sure that it stays really healthy, so we'll definitely add in some Olaplex too. Alright, so I'm going to start on the very bottom. I always like to clip up the top and just get it out of the way, and I'm going to start on her hairline. So we're going to do some diagonal backs just to get around this hairline so that when she wears it up, she's got a really nice, beautiful hairline. And even you guys can see after 12 weeks, this is a still pretty good grow out. Even though there's quite a bit of roots, it's not like a harsh line that's growing out. So we're gonna get in here, and the biggest thing that we wanna do, especially around the hairline, is we wanna make sure that we're doing tiny baby lights. So in order for it to grow out really nicely, we wanna keep these as fine as possible. So I'm gonna take my section here, and actually I'm gonna go a little bit thinner with this. And I know that you guys might think, oh, that seems so tedious, but at the end of the day, it actually does help it grow out really nicely. So we'll take this, we're gonna just weave it in here. My little baby hairs, and sometimes this foil can be a little tricky to kind of get it in there with not overlapping and stuff, but take your time. If this foil takes a little bit longer than the others, that's okay. We want this to be a really light foil, really soft baby light. So again, take your time with this one, but be careful not to overlap too, of course. So then we'll fold it up into here, and then we'll lock it into place, and we'll do this with the next one as well. Alright, and I'm going to do a couple more, and then we'll go on to the other side and do the same thing. Alright, so now I did about 3 foils on each side, and now I'm going to go down to this little bottom section here. And again, pay really close attention to these little details. You guys can see I'm just barely kind of getting in there. And I'm going to grab my foil and lock it into place, making sure that there's no other hairs in there. And if you guys are wondering where these foils are from, aren't they super fun? They're the ethereal foils from Framar. You guys know that I love my Framar peeps, and that's also where this brush is from. So if you guys are wanting to check them out, I linked them down below in the box down there. You guys can check out them on my Amazon link, or just go to their Instagram, Framar. I'm not even sponsored by them. I just love their stuff so much. So I'm locking that foil into place, and then we're just going to keep working up the head, going this way, and then when we get to kind of this mohawk area, we'll actually start to kind of narrow the foils a little bit, and then we'll go into that, and then we'll catch these little alleys when we do the sides. So I'm just going to keep working all the way up, and I'll show you guys when we kind of get to right about here. Alright, so I just finished kind of up into here, and now I'm going to go up to her crown, and I'm actually going to work my way down. So if you guys have watched some of my other foil videos, I actually foil backwards. So this way I was foiling like a normal person, but now I'm actually going to work going down this way, and then once we get back to here, we'll go forward. That might sound confusing, but I'll show you what I mean. So I'm going to just part her hair kind of at the crown of where her head starts to kind of, almost like kind of where the apex is. I'll clip this forward, and then I'm going to grab some hair here, make sure those ones are out of the way, and we will weave this out. And I decided to switch to just regular foils for this. I just like how they're a little bit tighter for this technique that I'm doing. So you guys can see I foil backwards. I'm kind of like one of those weirdos that foils backwards. If you foil backwards, let me know in the comments below, because we're not alone. I know that it's kind of an odd thing to foil this way, but then I lock it into place just like this, and I don't actually fold the foils till I come back, so I'll show you guys what I mean. But I'm just gonna keep working down the head. I'm not taking out too much hair in between. I wanna make sure that we're getting pretty in there and getting pretty blonde, so I'm not leaving out a lot of hair in between, but we are leaving out enough so that she doesn't grow out with like a line grown out of her head. Otherwise that would just be like a platinum retouch, and we definitely don't want that. So I'm just gonna keep working my way down, and I'll show you guys when we get around to this top section. So I went through and I finished all the way back to here, and now you guys can see I met up with my other foils, and now I'm going to just fold these foils down and work my way up. So now I can go back in and check, and I'll kind of use my foiling comb to just kind of fold these back up. Yeah, I foil backwards. I'm like one of those weird people, but I like it. I think it helps me get a little bit closer into the hair. I feel like I am just in more control, and that's just the way that I've always done it. So I like doing it that way. So I'll continue to fold these all the way up, and then when we get around to the top, I'll show you guys what we're doing. All right, so now I've gotten back up to that top section, and I'm gonna basically foil backwards again, but I spun my client around and I'm gonna work my way forward this way, and then when we get around to that hairline, I'll show you guys exactly what I'm doing. But you guys can see here that I'm just gonna take this piece here, clip it away, and I like to clip this one first because it helps keep it nice and tight, and then we'll grab our next section. This is also a really great technique for people that are shorter because you don't have to foil on top of the head as much. I feel like you're foiling more, it's just a little bit easier. So I'm not short, but I like this technique. And again, I'm not gonna fold that foil until we get around, we actually don't even need to fold it, which is nice. So you guys can see my sections are pretty thin. Sometimes I will do a slice, like this one I am gonna do a slice on. I kind of just switch it up. Sometimes I'll do a slice, sometimes I'll weave it. Just depends kind of what mood I'm in and what I feel like for each piece. But you guys can see I'm just gonna feather through those little pieces that were dark down there, and then kind of tackle those guys there. And when we got to this front section, we did switch to 30 volume from 25, so we're just gonna kind of keep continuing as we go up through the head. This will allow all the process at the same time, which is really nice. So then this one I will weave just because I wanna switch it up and I don't want it to be too solid for her. All right, so now I've made it around to her front hairline. You guys can see I'm about just a ½ an inch away, and I'm gonna get real detailed with these hairs. She's got some baby hairs, and we wanna make sure that we definitely get these in because when she wears it back, that's what's really gonna add those really seamless blend around the front. So you guys can see that I'm just gonna get in here, weave it out. I'm trying to get all those little baby hairs in there. And if you need to use smaller foils around the front, you totally can. And you guys can foil whatever way you want. You just wanna make sure that you're doing this really, really fine baby light kind of stuff around there, because that will make the biggest difference. And I promise you, that's why a lot of my clients come back to me, is because I do this really detailed area around the front, and it helps their hair grow out really nicely. So we're just gonna keep working our way forward. You guys can see just capturing these little baby guys in there. And we're actually gonna do probably at least one more foil. And now I am folding these ones just to help them lock in place a little bit. All right, and this will be our last foil. So just weave, weave, weave. And get these little guys in there. Now we definitely want to leave some hairs out around her hairline because otherwise it would just be super solid blonde, and we don't want that to be too much. So we will leave these little guys in there that just are gonna slip or not be able to be in a foil. We actually could do one more. We'll do one more just because. Do this little guy, but we will still leave a little bit. You guys can see she's kind of got that widow's peak right there. My client's getting married in 2 weeks, so we want to make sure that we get these hairs really nice and good for her. She's also going to Hawaii, so you know, throw a little extra foil in there. And we'll lock this guy in just a little bit more because that was just held on by a few hairs. All right, so now I'm gonna kind of come over here on the side. You guys can see I've got all these tiny little guys right in here. So I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm just gonna weave almost kind of just pick up this whole little section. We don't want to go too thick though, because that would be really thick right in there. So we'll actually get rid of some of these hairs. And you guys could totally do smaller foils in here too if you wanted. That helped you guys lock it into place a little bit. You just want to make sure that this one doesn't slip. So be really gentle. I will clip it up out of the way, but be really gentle when you're moving it around because you don't want that to slip. We're going to do one more up in here. So I'm going to take a little section. A tiny little piece. And you guys, these will make the biggest difference, especially these kind of temple areas, so your client doesn't have a stripe of dark and then really blonde around her face. We want to make sure that we're getting these little guys. All right, so now I've finished my two little baby guys right there, and I am gonna take my next piece over here. I'm gonna weave these out. Get it really, really tight in there. This is one of the most important foil pieces because you're taking the time to get right around their face. You want to make sure that this is going to be the piece that, you know, they wear back around their hairline. So this is a really important piece. You want to make sure that it's not too solid right in there. It's not bleed marks or anything like that. So just be really careful. And I'm actually going to fold this one into thirds to help lock it into place better. I'm going to keep doing the same thing, just a bunch of baby lights, and I'll show you guys the other side. Alright, so now I finished the other side and we got to kind of this front section. So you guys can see her hairline's a little bit different over here. So I am going to start actually on this guy. I'll just kind of pull some hair away and up. Again, we don't want it to be super, super solid blonde. So I'm just going to do one little guy here. And even though I just took a slice, it's a very thin slice. And here's one of those smaller foils I was talking about. You guys, I just tore one in half. So that'll definitely help. This is going to help it just lock into place a little bit easier and not be such a giant foil. So I'm just going to kind of work my way down. Now, one thing you want to make sure that you're not doing with these types of sections is you don't want to take a chunk like this, paint it on, and then you'd have a huge bleed mark right there. Or not bleed mark, but like a huge blonde streak that's not going to blend well at all. So you guys can see I'm going really, really fine with these pieces. So here's my section. I'm actually going to weave it because I don't want there to be like a chunk of blonde. Being really cautious and keeping that in mind. Especially because my client's getting married. We don't want that. When in doubt, go finer and definitely go softer with those baby lights because that would be the worst thing is to have a huge chunk. So I'm just going to keep working my way down this little section right here. Alright, and now I'm going to work my way just doing diagonal backs. Now, my client has a good protruding area right here on the sides, and so what you could do if you really wanted to get super detailed or you were having issues with this piece being really chunky is you could do this in its own mini foil and then do this piece in its own mini foil. If you're having issues with that, I would definitely just try doing that. Obviously it's going to take you a few extra minutes to do that, but at the end of the day, that's a really important foil. That's going to be the one that the client notices, especially if something's wrong there. So if you're having issues with that, or it's a little bit harder for you to do kind of a longer foil like this or such a wide foil, take it in two foils, 2 mini foils, just try it. It'll make a big difference, and especially when you're first like starting out or just trying foils or really trying to get used to that hairline, I would rather you take that extra time. Your client will really appreciate it, and I promise you that it'll make a huge difference in your foiling work. So I'm just going to keep working my way back, and I'll show you guys when we kind of get to these little alleys over here. Okay, so now I've gotten to this little alley that I was talking to you guys about, and I'm going to connect this back section where we did her hairline into this side section. So you guys can see I have my foil here, and we will just kind of weave this guy out here. I'm actually going to weave it a little bit more because I don't want it to be too solid. I want it to be a little bit more broken up there. Weave it out. And as you guys can tell, I'm not foiling backwards on these sections, so I'm just foiling diagonally like a normal person again. Obviously on the sides, I wouldn't be able to hold the foils up and fold them backwards. That would be weird, but yeah, so this is how I typically foil on the sides, but just kind of connecting that. Now you guys can see there's this little chunk right here that's darker. We definitely want to make sure we get that. Don't leave that out because otherwise then she would have like a darker piece right there. And I'm just going to kind of tack down that corner there. So So I'll continue going all the way through here till we finish out this little section so that she doesn't end up with a whole dark chunk. That's probably my widest foil that I have to do there. And now you guys can see they're gonna get smaller and smaller and smaller until I get to this like little corner here. All right, so she is ready. I just checked her foils. You guys can see that she's ready to go. We got inside a banana going on in here, so all the other foils are ready as well. And I always like to just check just a few just to see, but you guys can see, yep, we are ready. So we're gonna go pull her foils and get her going. Okay, so I'm gonna mix up her toner, and I decided to do Coloron's 10P with a little tiny bit of 10V, and I just love this formula for my blondes, so I'm gonna mix it up and we're gonna go apply it to her hair. Okay, so I rinsed out her lightener, all her foils, and then I applied her Olaplex number 2. We let that sit on for just a few minutes, and now we rinsed it out, towel dried her, and now I have her toner right here, and I'm gonna apply it kind of to the root area first, and then we'll kind of work it down through these ends. You guys can see I'm just kind of pulling it through here. I always start underneath, especially with blondes, because you want to make sure if it is going to tone too much, I'd rather tone a little bit too much underneath where it's darker, a little bit deeper, and not right around their face. And then obviously as we move forward, we'll work our way up. So I'm just gonna pull this through. Again, I kind of keep it off the ends because her ends are a little bit more porous and it doesn't need quite as much toner there. So I'm just gonna work our way up through her head. One thing that I like to do is I like to kind of almost detangle my clients a little bit with a comb or a brush or something before I apply the toner, because it definitely makes it easier to pull that toner through her hair. So you guys can see I like to work section by section, and I love Goldwell Color-Ons because it's so frothy. It's really easy to move through the hair and really easy to get through that hair pretty quickly. So now I've kind of gotten to the front. I did section out her hairline, and the reason why is I like to apply the toner there last, just because a lot of times it can get really blonde there. It's obviously very porous. The hairs are a little bit finer, so we want to make sure that it doesn't go gray right around the face. So sometimes I just like to kind of section out that little hairline area, get it more to the back, and then we'll go and apply that very, very last. Shampooed, rinsed her out, and now I'm going to put the Biolage Raw Color Care Acidic Milk Rinse. I love this. It's really going to help just close down the cuticle. I'm just going to apply it to her hair just by squirting it on like this. It's really going to close down that cuticle of her hair and really make her blonde color last and soften and make her hair really shiny. She's got kind of frizzy hair, so this is just really going to help with everything. I love using this on my blonde clients, and I think it makes a huge difference. So I love using it. I apply a lot, as you guys can see. I just kind of squirt it on, but I think it makes a huge difference. So we'll let this sit on for about 10 minutes, and then we'll rinse it out, and we'll follow it up with the conditioner. Here is our final look. You guys can see how beautiful and blonde it looks. I absolutely love this toner because it creates a beautiful creamy blonde without it being white or too ashy. So definitely check out that toner, but look at that beautiful shine and look at her roots. They just look amazing. I love this technique, so I hope you guys try it out and let me know what you guys think. Do you guys like this blonde? I'd love to hear your guys' comments. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that it was helpful for you. If you learned something, leave me a comment in the box below. I love learning how these videos help you, and make sure to come say hi over on Instagram. I love meeting you guys, and I love that you're watching these videos. Make sure to also take a screenshot of this video, post it on your stories, tag me, and I love seeing who's tuning in and where you're tuning in from. So thanks again for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.